Breathe with me. This is Judas Crossing, West Virginia. The soil here doesn't just hold the dead, it listens for the living. You'll hear it first as silence, not quiet. Absence, the kind that presses against your ears until your own heartbeat becomes a stranger's knock at your door. And once you hear it, you've already been found. So tell me, what name are you carrying that the ground has started to whisper back? Family. Some debts are not paid in coin. They are settled in the marrow of the soul. Some rituals are not broken by prayer. They are shattered by a deeper, older sin. And some rescuers do not find the lost. They merely take their place in the dark. This is the testimony of a man who believed he could outrun grief by hiding in the arms of a mountain. This is the dread Codex. The soil here has a memory, and the soil at Judas Crossing remembers everything. My name is not important. Call me Lucas. I worked remote for a tech firm in Richmond, Virginia. When they finally approved permanent work from home, I did what any man running from a ghost would do. I looked for the farthest place from my old life. Judas Crossing appeared on a forum I should never have opened. Old mining town. Abandoned after the 1927 disaster. Some families moved back in the 90s. Cheap. Quiet. No one asks questions. No one asked why the creek ran brown 3 days every month. No one asked why the church had no steeple. No one asked why the children drew the same figure in the dirt. A woman with too many joints. Ferns growing from her eyes. I was arrogant enough to think I was looking for peace. I was actually looking for an altar. The homestay was run by a man named Silas Weaver. His family had been in Judas Crossing since before the mine collapse. He rented me a converted root cellar, a private studio, cut into the hillside 200 feet below the main road. 3 rooms, all stone, all cold, all facing east toward the hollow they called the Weeping Basin. My neighbor was a woman named Mara. Late 20s, quiet, worked for a non-profit in Charleston. She kept her door locked at all times. In 3 weeks, I heard her laugh exactly once. We became friends the way 2 people in a dying town become friends. Slowly, necessarily. Then more. Mara was cautious, measured. She watched the tree line the way soldiers watch a tree line they've walked before. I was the opposite. I was hungry. Hungry for distraction, for warmth, for someone who didn't know what I had done, what I had lost. You need to understand the geography. The main road of Judas Crossing runs along the ridge. Newer houses, solar panels, satellite dishes. The now. Below the road, a staircase cut into the shale. 317 steps. I counted them every night. The steps end at the old town. Foundations of houses from the 1800s. A collapsed church. A schoolhouse with no roof. And at the bottom, the Weeping Basin. A pond. Not deep. Never full. And at its center, the throat. A mound of black stone. Roughly 6 feet wide. Shaped like a clenched fist. In 1927, when the mine collapsed and killed 43 men, their bodies were never recovered. Not because they were buried too deep. Because the mountain ate them. And the miners' families, the ones who survived, they carved something into the stone around the throat. You can still read it if you kneel close enough. We gave blood. The ground grew teeth. In March, the town celebrated what they called the unburying. 2 days before Easter, every family walked down the 317 steps. They gathered at the throat. They poured something into the water, I couldn't see what, and they sang hymns. But the hymns were wrong. The same melodies, the same harmonies, different words. He is risen, so the soil can feed. He is risen, and the stone has teeth. Mara and I were invited. We went. I stood at the edge of the Weeping Basin and watched children walk across the water, walk across it, to sit on the throat. None of them sank. None of them even hesitated. The next day, I asked Mara, "What do they pour into the water?" She looked at me for a long time. Then she closed her door. She didn't speak to me for 3 days. The affair, if you can call it that, started after the unburying. Maybe she was lonely. Maybe I was desperate. Maybe the mountain was arranging us. We shared a tent when we went camping at the Weeping Basin. Silas warned us not to. Animals, he said. Cougars come down from the ridge, but the sound we heard the first night was not a cougar. It was a whisper. From inside the stone. From inside the throat. Lucas. I woke up. Mara was already sitting up. Her hand was on my chest. Her fingers were cold as shale. You heard it, I said. She nodded. Then she whispered, "My name isn't Mara." I waited. "My name is Sanilla. I changed it when I came here. I thought if I left my name behind, it couldn't find me. Find you." She turned on the lantern. The light caught her neck. Bruises. Old. Circular. Like fingers. "Someone I loved died," she said. "Someone I should have saved. I kept something of hers. Something I shouldn't have. A photo," she nodded. "In my wallet. I can't throw it away. And ever since I came here, she's been walking. We should have left that night. We did not." We went back to the Weeping Basin again. And again. And again. The tent became one tent. The one tent became a ritual. And the ritual woke something. The first sign was the fire. We always kept a fire burning outside the tent. Silas's rule. Light keeps the hollow still. One night, I woke to the smell of burning leather. Mara's boots were in the fire. Both of them. Standing upright. Laces tied together, as if someone had walked them into the flames. I grabbed her. She was cold. Not cold like a living person. Cold like hoary water. "Mara," she opened her eyes. They were not her eyes. You kept my picture, not her voice. A voice from inside a collapsed mine. A voice that had been chewing stone for 90 years. "You let me burn, Lucas. You let me die in that car. And then you ran. I couldn't move." Her hand closed around my throat. Her fingers were longer than they should have been. Her nails were flakes of slate. "Now you'll stay. Now you'll walk into the basin every night. Now you'll undress for me. Now you'll kneel at the throat. And every night I will take another piece of you, until there is nothing left but a hollow thing that breathes my name." She released me. She collapsed. And when I looked toward the throat, a woman was walking across the water. Not on the water. In it. The water reaching her waist. Then her chest. Then her chin. She had no face. Just ferns. Growing from where her eyes should have been. Mara moved out the next morning. She told Silas everything. Silas told her to stop going to the basin. She agreed. I did not agree. I was not in control anymore. I went alone, every night after work, down the 317 steps, past the old foundations, to the water's edge. I built the fire. I pitched the tent. I sat. Same descent, same fire, same tent. And every night at 11:30, I would stand, undress, and walk into the water. I remember none of it. What I remember is waking at 2 a.m., shivering, dressed, back in the tent, with mud between my toes and the taste of something ancient on my tongue. This happened 11 times before Mara locked me in my room. My skin began to change. Not color, texture. The pads of my fingers became rough, gritty, like low-grade sandpaper. My dreams filled with tunnels, with darkness that had weight, with a woman who had fern leaves for eyes and a voice that came from below. Stay with me, Lucas. The picture was enough. Now I need the rest. One night, Mara locked me in my room. I screamed. I pounded the door. I called her names I will carry to my grave. She did not open the door. She and Silas watched from the roof of the old schoolhouse as I climbed out my window, not remembering climbing out, walked down the steps, undressed at the water's edge, and walked into the Weeping Basin. They watched me disappear behind the throat. For 15 minutes I was gone. Then I came back, dressed, walked up the steps, climbed back through my window. The next morning I had no memory, but Silas did, and Silas was terrified. He called a man named Father Judah, not his real name. He took it from the town's original name, Judas Crossing, because he believed some places could only be healed by someone willing to carry their curse. Father Judah was not a priest in the way you understand. He was a threader, someone who walked between the living and the hollow places. He asked me one question. What did you keep? I told him about the photo. My wife, Sanilla. The car accident. The guilt I had buried under $6,000 of therapy and a move to a dead mining town. Did you complete her rites? He asked. I scattered her ashes. I did everything the funeral home said. He shook his head. That's not what I asked. Did you mourn her? Did you release her? Or did you carry her in a wallet like a prisoner? I didn't answer. He took my wallet. Inside the photo, Sanilla smiling, Sanilla alive, Sanilla waiting. Father Judah held the photo over a candle. You kept her here, in a dark box, in a dark town, in a dark season. You gave her no door, Lucas. So she made one. He burned the photo. I screamed, not because of the fire, because she screamed. From inside the throat, from inside the mountain, from inside the hollow beneath the hollow. That night, we went to the basin. Father Judah, Mara, Silas, and me. Father Judah carried iron chains soaked in water from a living spring. Not the basin's water, which he called baptized by collapse. He circled the throat 3 times. He poured something onto the stone, something that smelled of rosemary and forgiveness. Then he spoke to the water. Sanilla, you were loved. You were lost. You are not a monster. You are a wound that was never closed. But this man cannot be your cure. He can only be your witness. Let him go. Let him remember. But do not let him stay. The water began to churn. The woman made of ferns rose from the basin, not walking, unfolding, joints bending where joints should not bend. She looked at me, And for the first time, I saw not a demon. I saw my wife, drowning, alone, angry, and I deserved her anger. Father Judah completed the rite at dawn. The photo was ash. The chains were laid across the throat. And I was finally empty, not healed. Empty, empty of her. Empty of the guilt I had worn like a second skin. Empty enough to breathe. Mara never spoke to me again. The morning she left, I found a single fern pressed under my door. No note, no name, just the shape of something that had finally stopped drowning. She moved to a different homestay. Then she left Judas Crossing entirely. I do not blame her. I stayed one more week, long enough to pack, long enough to walk the 317 steps one last time. At the bottom, I knelt at the Weeping Basin. The water was clear. The throat was silent. I said the words Father Judah taught me. I release you. And I release the part of me that wanted to follow you into the dark. Then I left. Family. This is the story of Judas Crossing. It is not a story of ghosts. It is a story of grief that learned to walk. The most profound evil does not scream. It whispers from inside the things we refuse to bury. It uses our guilt as a door, our silence as the key. So listen closely. If you ever stand at the edge of a body of water that breathes when there is no wind, if you ever hear your name spoken by a voice that has been dead longer than you have been alive, if you ever carry a photo of someone you failed to save, burn it. Not because the dead are cruel, because the hollow places are hungry, and they will use anything to pull you down where the light does not reach. Some grounds are not hallowed by God. They are consecrated by what was here before he was invoked. And some rescuers do not find the lost. They merely take their place in the dark. If you have a story that has taken root in you, share it. Your truth becomes our tale. Your engagement keeps these stories alive. Until next time, may your path be lit. May your faith be your own. Good night.